thank you again to the CloneStar podcast for hosting us, and welcome to the Hit or Miss podcast segment of this charity stream. And I'm just going to go around and introduce everyone to each other because we've not really had a chance just yet. So I'm going to start with my good friend for many a year, Mr. Stephen Brown. Shout out, Stephen. How are you doing?
I'm really, really happy to be here, man. Happy to have a good chat tonight, hopefully.
Yeah, and you've got your list of 10 films ready?
I did, yes, I did. It's all ready to go.
Say hi to DK and Adrienne.
Hello, people I've never met before, so don't judge me too hard.
I know.
We are all united in Trek, though, I assure you. And the reason that I'm on here doing this is because I was asked to help by the CloneStar guys, and I do have a Star Trek podcast here on this Star Trek, which is what was involved, but I also do a film podcast called Silver Screen Podcast, so it occurred to me if we're talking all things Star Trek, and I also am the guy for film, then why not talk about the Star Trek movies? And so my next guest that I'll introduce has been on both my Hit or Miss Star Trek and my movies podcast, and that is my friend DK. How you doing, buddy?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. Yourself?
Yeah, not bad. A bit nervous, but hopefully it'll all go relatively swimmingly, and we'll do well. If anyone has any problems, just let me know. But DK joined me for a review of DS9's "It's Only a Paper Moon" on the Trek podcast, and a review of the movie Die Hard last Christmas on my movie podcast. So we've reviewed a lot together. Yeah.
And he's still not tired of me yet for some strange and obscure reason.
No, not at all. And finally, Adrienne, the only other person brave enough to put a camera on. Welcome.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
I can perfectly.
Okay, good. Yeah, this is my first time doing a camera pod, any type at all. So it's kind of all new to me, but I snuck into my son's room, and here I am. I'm excited. And I have my favorite Starfleet sweatshirt on from my days, at the academy. So I'm all.
Got my badge on somewhere, but you
nice.
Hidden by the microphone. There you go.
Where's your son? Has he been banished to another room?
I know that he's coming home from school, and he's not going to have any idea that I'm in here. What I'm doing.
Mom,
I know what.
He's going to be scarred for life.
Right. Yes. I have my list ready. I have my list. I'm totally ready.
We've talked before. We're not complete strangers because you have also guested on the Hit or Miss Trek podcast in one of the most recent episodes. Actually, didn't we review Unimatrix Zero?
Unimatrix Zero, and of course, I'm sorry if anybody goes back to listen to it because I had a fan on. I forgot all about the microphone thing, and Mikey did such a great job fixing all that for us. So it's still
we did. I didn't think it was that bad. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just be nice.
No, it was a good discussion. I enjoyed it, and Adrienne, I think, is a big fan of me and my podcasts. So at least there's one person listening at all times. So that's great. So as I say, I am here hosting because I'm on behalf of both podcasts, but mainly the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast. But I also have a little co-host with me, Mr. Tricorder. Hello, Mr. Tricorder. Fresh from the set of Star Trek Generations. Have you ever seen anything like this, Mr. Tricorder? No, Geordie, I haven't.
Just watched that. I just watched that yesterday.
Really? Wow, that's weird. Yeah. And Stephen, did you get a chance to rewatch all of the movies that you said you were going to do?
Yes, of course I did. I am, yes. No, not even close.
Thankfully, I know them well enough, I think, so it's all right. Well, just I sorry to just lump it on you guys. I have kind of vaguely discussed what we're doing, but I wanted to keep it a little bit of a secret, so as it was a bit fresh for us, and we weren't really overly prepared. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to go through and ask each of you for your movies in order from 10 to 1. So I'll ask each of us for our number 10 movie and a little bit as to why it is either as low or as high. And then I'm also, just to guide the conversation a bit, I'm just going to ask for your favorite scene in that movie, for your favorite character, and for your favorite line of dialogue, because it just helps to keep things moving along. And I'm not great at off the cuff, so it gives us a bit of a structure. So yeah, and then what I'm also going to do, depending on where the movie's placed, I'm going to try and put them on a little ranked chart. Don't worry if it's too complicated for anybody listening. It will hopefully all make sense at the end. But essentially what it is the number 10 movie will get 1 point, the number 9 will get 2, right the way through to the number 1 movie, which obviously will get 10 points. We'll add up the scores at the end for all 4 people, and hopefully we'll end up with a combined top 10, and it might be decently representative, unless anybody has put Star Trek 5 anywhere near the top.
Oh, damn.
What a moment.
Well, you know, in terms of greatest line of dialogue, there's only one, and it's what does God want with a starship? So if we stick with that, then we'll be fine. But yeah, so how are we all doing anyway? I didn't really get a chance to just say hi. How are we all doing? We all decompressed and ready?
Could do for coffee, but yeah, I'm great.
And have we all caught up with Star Trek Picard yet?
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
That was a good opener.
It was, yeah. Lots of questions, but
yeah, I've watched a bit of the opener, but no, I'm
oh
waiting.
wow, you're behind.
I know. I haven't even watched Discovery this week yet. I am truly
right.
behind.
Oof. Oh well,
Yeah.
I'll not get into a
probably
big
what I'm
review of
doing.
that. You what say?
It's probably what I'll be doing after we're done here. So
You're gonna go at midnight and start watching just numerous episodes of Trek.
well, at least those two mentioned. Yeah, definitely.
Fair enough.
Got to get that watched. Very
Fair
much
enough.
looking forward to that.
Awesome. Just for a little kind of groundbreaker, then, and I've probably already asked some of you this either in person, Stephen, or on the podcast. But what was the very first Star Trek film that you ever saw at the cinema? Can you remember? And when was it? We'll start with you, Stephen.
I'm still thinking.
Shall we move on?
At the cinema. Oh my god.
I remember mine because I think I was with you.
That was probably the first one I've seen. Yeah. What did we watch?
It was Insurrection at Gateshead Metro Centre Cinema.
That could well be it. Because I'm trying
Yeah.
to think if I watched. I don't think I watched First Contact, but I remember
No,
we
I
watched that in our art class.
Ooh.
The obligatory GCSE art lesson where we put it
We
on
watched
for
it in
everyone.
media studies because I brought it in. Just
Was it media studies? I thought it was art
It
for
was.
some reason. Or was it
Oh,
both?
media.
Because we just insist on watching
it was. It could have been both. I was carrying the videotape around.
Yeah.
Oh well, yeah. I remember Insurrection, and I think I might well have seen everyone since, or almost everyone since, with you as well. So
Yeah,
very
yeah,
weird.
that's quite possible.
Some better than others, obviously, but yeah, cool. We've had many a long night talking Trek, I think, haven't we, over the years?
Indeed.
What about you then, DK? Do you remember the first time you saw a Trek movie in the cinema, and when was it?
Oh, this is going to show my age. It was Search for Spock.
Wow.
Yeah. It was I think it was my very first like solo outing with friends. You know, when you get to that point where you do see films with like your family and things, but that first movie where you go and see it just with friends and you feel all important and I'm an adult now. Yeah. My adult film was Search for Spock.
Awesome. It's cool. And do you mind if I ask where it was?
It was in Odeon Cinema, Barnsley, South Yorkshire, England. Yes.
How did you end up in Spain from Barnsley?
Oh, it's such a long story. It's such a long story. You'd need another 2 hours, and frankly, it's not that interesting.
Fair enough. Adrienne, all the way from the USA, then, what was your first cinema experience with Star Trek? As I fiddle with my
Oh, aging myself. Okay, so when I was a little kid, I did go and watch the motion picture in the theater. I was really small, and I went with my best friend's family, and I can remember absolutely zero about it except the fact that I was kind of nervous because that creature's actually out there. This thing it's actually launched, so I remember that part.
Oh yeah, the probe, I guess.
Yeah.
Theoretically, yeah. I was going to say, as a young person seeing the motion picture, that must have been the best nap you ever had.
No, I actually loved it. I couldn't believe it.
Did the family
That
hate
was
you?
great.
Yes. You know.
Yeah, no, I loved it.
Bless. But that's cool. And that was somewhere in the States, I assume.
Yes, it would have been in Los Angeles County somewhere, of course.
Oh, see, you're so much cooler than us. We're in like Gateshead and Barnsley, and you're in LA.
No, it's not cool. It's great that the Star Trek is everywhere. It's so interesting to hear everybody talking about stuff from Hollywood. It's just amazing. I love it.
Definitely. Yeah, we are all united with Trek. And just before I get into it, then, in case we didn't make it obvious, we are here for a charity for a reason. We're all using the hashtag Trek for Ukraine because we're raising funds. Even if you're someone who tries to avoid doom scrolling and news like myself, you can't have avoided seeing what's happening there. And it's a humanitarian crisis. It's tragic.
It's utterly
beyond words.
heartbreaking.
It is.
It really is. So we are basically raising funds for the Red Cross, who we know will get the money to the right places for people in Ukraine who have suffered. And it really is the people who are least deserving, I would say, probably who are suffering at the moment. And we need to get some help to them. So there will be a Just Giving link appearing randomly on the screen. And if you just go onto our social medias, it's posted all over our sort of Twitters, and you can see the Twitter for the podcast there is at HoM Trek. You can follow that on there, or I believe the donation is justgiving.com/Trek for Ukraine, but I couldn't swear to that, but hopefully our hosts will come on and pop that on screen at some point later on. But yeah, do give what you can. We're all having fun, but it's for a good cause, and we're hoping to raise quite a bit of money. As mentioned, we have raised a little bit so far, so we have to. If we can raise quite a lot in the next 2 hours, we'll show what we, specifically the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast, can do. But I know that we as Trekkies are going to come together for this good cause and do the best we can. So yeah. So with that out of the way, then that little bit of sort of seriousness. I'm going to go straight in and ask for the lists then. So hopefully we've all got a top 10. And I'm just going to have to work out an order here. So why don't we start with you, Stephen, because you are bottom right on my screen, so I could just go clockwise from there. So we'll start with you, Stephen. What is your number 10 movie on your list?
So the worst movie. Okay.
Well, there's 3 presumably that aren't on your list. So the worst one that you've made out of your 10.
Yeah. So as I mentioned beforehand, briefly to yourself, I was sort of I had a solid top 6, I think, middle ground 7 to 9, and then at the end I was like, I can't really decide which one I don't like the most. So I'm actually going to just throw your numbers off straight away, and I'm going to throw the motion picture in there and Star Trek 5.
Okay. If you had to pick one of the 2 to be your number 10, what would it be?
5.
So you're going to Final Frontier?
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Just cause. And I'll just.
I should probably have asked what the 3 were that weren't going to place, but that would kind of give the game away. So I'll not do that. But we've all had to sort of leave 3 out, I guess. So that's fair enough. And I think you like the movies a lot less than me, because I didn't find it that difficult to find 10 that I thought were at least decent. But,
there's none that none that I truly hate, but yeah, I certainly get to a certain point in the middle where I enjoy the movies, but I just don't have your massive feelings about them and can really rate them that heavily, unless I'm truly forced by
by a podcast like this. Yeah. So why was the motion picture? Sorry, why was the Final Frontier specifically? First of all, so low, but secondly, why did it save itself from the chop being one of the 3 that didn't make the cut?
Well, it only really made the cut because it is the worst, and I had to pick a top 10.
Well, again, there's 3 below it, though, isn't there? Surely.
No. Mine just ends there. The other ones are just they exist. A bit like my 7 to 9. They also just exist. But I felt the need. I had to mention the fact I really just didn't like the movie, and that's why it's my 10th.
Fair
it's
enough.
Not even on my list. It's not even like the 10th. It's just star. Just
you make everything really difficult, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. I just had to mention I don't like it, and yeah, this fact is I love the when they're getting on the rocket boots. Loved it, apart from the number of flaws on the
that was ridiculous. Yeah, even before Discovery had immense labyrinth corridors. It had multiple decks on the Enterprise here. Yeah,
that's it. So I like that scene, but just something about the movie, you'd have to pay me to watch it. Really.
Fair enough. Well, if you had to pick a favorite character then in Star Trek 5, who would you say it was? Scotty, just purely for the know the ship like the back of my hand joke?
Yes. That's exactly what I was picturing in my head.
I know you so well.
That was exactly what it was. And then, back in my head.
Would that be your favourite line of dialogue as well?
I mean, that's a good one, but what does God need with a starship? It's also very much like a boof. Yeah. You take that, God.
That's fair enough.
Well, as much as you can do, so yeah.
Your favourite scene, then you said it was probably the opening scene with the jet boots and the camping and whatnot.
Yeah, the camping bit was quite fun at the start, give it lighthearted, but then obviously at the lift, the fact that you're climbing up that elevator shaft for ages and Spock disappears and like, where's Spock? And like, then he flies up there and sort of rescues them, but not really. Just makes it, makes their entire.
He does make a
climb
great pun
irrelevant.
about the gravity of the situation. To be fair.
You're really trying to help me enjoy the movie, and it's not really going to work.
Character assassination of the final frontier. Oh, well. I shan't put you through it any longer then. I will leave that and say that it's probably not going to bode very well that you've actually just given a point to the final frontier, but something has to get 1 point, so there you go.
Judge me.
I'm going to move on then, as I say, clockwise, and I'll go to you, DK, and I will just ask, what is your number 10 movie on your list?
Okay, I'll preface this by saying there's none of the movies I really detest. So
Thank
they're
you.
all it's all obviously art subjective. So I've got to pick ones that don't really strike a chord with me at the lower end. So I'm going to go with Star Trek Beyond for my number 10.
Oh, okay. Wow. All right. And why would you say that is so low? But also, why is it not one of the three that didn't place? So
there's only two from the Kelvinverse that's in my top 10, and
right.
As much as I like it compared to the second one, which isn't in my top 10, it comes across to me as forgettable. I can watch it, and a couple of days later, I can pretty much have forgotten most of the movie. If I'm being honest, there's nothing that really latches on.
Right, fair enough. I think you might have some disagreement later in one or two of the lists. I can only speak for myself though, because I haven't seen them. But that's all right then. So, if you had though to pick a favorite character from Star Trek Beyond, who would it be?
It's got to be Sophia Boutella's character, Jayla.
Jayla.
I think she's a fantastic character. If they do have any sense, and hopefully they will not recast Anton Yelchin when they come back from fourth, it would be nice to see her take that spot if she's up for it.
Yeah, I can imagine it. Yeah. Jayla, so named because they were trying to cast Jennifer Lawrence and didn't get her. But one of those great Star Trek things, just like how they called the planet Shakari in Star Trek 5 because they thought they were going to get Sean Connery, and then did Last Crusade instead. Can't really blame him, to be fair. It was the wiser decision.
No one can accuse him of making the wrong choice there, can
Absolutely not. Awesome. So, well, if you had to pick a memorable scene, if you can, from Star Trek Beyond, then what would it be?
It's got to be the Beastie Boys attack at the end. There's not much that sticks with me, but that will never leave me.
Yeah, the beats and shouting.
Yeah.
Awesome. And do you have any line of dialogue that sticks in your head at all?
I'm going to be ashamed to admit this, but there is absolutely nothing dialogue-wise that. Again,
it's a low
I don't dislike. Yeah, I don't dislike the film, but it just doesn't stick with me for some reason. I don't know why.
I would perhaps recommend giving it a rewatch, but again, I'm sure I'll get to that later. There we go. Well, fair enough. I'll move on to you then. Well, actually, I'll go to myself because I'm next clockwise. So just to let everybody know, the number 10 movie on my list was Star Trek The Motion Picture. It is number 10 because it is incredibly boring. Let's be honest. Even for us Trekkies who are quite a cerebral bunch, it's quite a slow, laborious kind of movie. It's also a film where you can tell they were just writing the script as they filmed, and so the first half is just very much, what do we do? I don't know, a wormhole or something. I don't know.
Oh, you're going to hate my list.
You gave me grief for mentioning Star Trek 5, and you've mentioned The Motion Picture.
Well, the thing is, the reason that it makes my list, though, and doesn't get shunted to the three that shall not be spoken, is because the director's cut, I think, does improve it a little bit. And it picks up the pace a lot in that. And to be fair, there's a good story in The Motion Picture if they had cut like half an hour out of it, I guess. I don't mind the story.
Though.
You what?
Is it not like just 20 minutes long?
No, it's a decent story. I mean, we discussed on a podcast which will be out in a couple of weeks because I reviewed the original series episode, The Changeling, and we talked about how, that Star Trek and Roddenberry did a lot of this machine merges with another machine and looks for its creator and humanity versus machine tech and everything. So there's some good ideas in there. It's just the execution, I think, was a little bit iffy. But ultimately, at the end of the day, having said that, I would sit and watch that gorgeous shot of just the brand new Enterprise and the ship going around it for 20 minutes just all day. Just put that out. That's already a better movie than the three things that didn't make it on my list. So and so I suppose I have to ask myself the questions. My favorite character from the motion picture would be Spock, because I think it was great seeing him again, and he's clearly the focus. I think the film really only comes into focus, pardon the pun, when he comes on board the Enterprise. It's a little bit kind of scattershot and a little bit not sure what it's doing until he arrives, and then it seems to gain a lot more perspective, and he sort of echoing his kind of struggle for his humanity with that of V'Ger, I think was really cool. Yeah, and my favorite scene in the motion picture, that is a struggle, but I'm probably just going to go with the fly past of the Enterprise, because what the heck, I'm a sucker for ships and stuff, as anybody who knows me will know, and it looked beautiful, so why not? Even though it's got nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. And now I have to think of a decent line of dialogue. It's a struggle. There's dialogue in there somewhere, I'm sure. But
Okay.
the only thing that sticks in my mind, and this is going to be quite traumatizing for a bunch of people, is I always remembered, because I was just horrified by the scene when they have the kind of horrible transporter accident at the start because they need to get rid of Spock's replacement.
Yeah.
And I just remembered how incredibly evocative the line "What we got back didn't live long," thankfully, is. And I was like, oof, that is, without showing you anything, I don't need to know any more than that. That's a great piece of dialogue for kind of chilling horror elements, I guess. So I'd probably have to pick that as my favorite line of dialogue. But yeah, so the motion picture did manage to get 1 point out of me and came into my 10th place. Right. So I'll move to you, Adrienne, then for the last number 10, and ask you what number 10 was on your list.
My number 10 is Star Trek V.
The Final Frontier again.
Yeah. It's kind of a movie I've watched so much. So I at least had to have it in my top 10. Not my favorite, but I had to have it there.
That's fair enough. If it's a personal thing and you've watched it a lot, then that's probably a good enough reason why. There's a lot of things, including my number 1, that's there just because I watched it a lot and at a time in my life that I was able to. So awesome. So if hopefully we can come up with something different from Stephen's half-assed attempts, then and ask what was your first?
I mean, at the moment, Star Trek V is winning. I mean, that's
apparently
terrible.
it's totally, but
ironically, yes, at the moment it is winning. But yeah, so what would be your favorite character, for example, from the Final Frontier, shall we say?
Well, I loved the Dr. McCoy and his backstory with his father. I thought that was poignant. It was so heavy, and he's one of my favorite Star Trek people. So that was really something for me to watch. Yeah.
That's
how we
fair
couldn't
enough.
save his dad.
Yeah, it's such a good scene and so brief, and you completely forget it's in that movie because it seems like it belongs in a better film, for not to be too cruel to that movie. But yeah, I can understand that. So awesome, Dr. McCoy. So what was your favorite scene? Would that be the same thing? Or?
That's the same. Yeah, just because it's so heavy, it's so revealing of him and his whole doctor thing, and he couldn't save his own dad. So that was really There was some real
richness they could have done with the whole Cyborg taking away whatever unspoken pain you've got, and then I think they only really used it effectively with McCoy, unfortunately. But
agreed.
Oh, well.
Yeah, agreed.
And so, what would be your favorite memorable line of dialogue from it then?
Just the part, when he says, "And you couldn't save your dad," and he says, "No," and they've discovered a cure just right past that. So right after that, and
that's fair enough. Powerful enough. Yeah. Oh, well, it seems like one scene might have made the film, but what the heck? If there's things that's worse, why not? But yeah, I think it's been ages since I've seen The Final Frontier, but I just remember thinking it was a slog to get through, and there's some real messy moments in there. The whole Scotty and Uhura relationship just coming out of absolutely nowhere really threw me, and very weird.
Although I liked her dancing. That was kind of cool.
It was, again, weird and out of place, but I suppose it was cool in its own way.
I just thought that was neat. Yeah, Nichelle Nichols.
The only other thing I remember that's notable from Final Frontier is that I thought it was the galactic barrier that they went to, and then I got schooled after the recent Discovery episode because everyone was like, "It's not the same thing," and I was like, "Really?" I spent years thinking it was the same thing, but no. Apparently, it's the one in the center of the galaxy in the Final Frontier, and it's the one on the edge of the galaxy in the original series.
Yes,
that always confused me.
Yeah, who knows?
So exactly. There's a barrier on either side. We're just in like the
apparently so. Yeah,
donut universe.
Yeah. Yes, we are the delicious donut in the universes. What a way to look on humans. Ah, bless. Well, with that, then we'll move on to. I'm going to ask for everyone's number 9, and I'm just going to go in the same order because why not? We've established this now. So, Stephen, your number 9 film that you probably also don't like.
What are you trying to say? What are you trying to say? Well, actually, it's Star Trek Beyond.
Right. Okay.
It's already been mentioned. That was I thought again.
That's gonna happen.
As I sort of I've already preluded really. 7 to 8, so 7 to 9. They're fine. It's not that I don't dislike them. I had to pick an order, and I just happened to pick this particular order. Again, yeah, it happened. It was fairly, nothing particularly.
Talk about damning with faint praise. That one's not going on the back of the video box. It happened, Stephen Brown.
Star Trek Beyond. They went somewhere they've never been before and found things. Yeah.
Neat.
They boldly went.
Yes.
And yeah, I mean, like the final section for me, where if they'd gone through all the stuff they had, rescued the crew, got them on the ship, and maybe gone in orbit, blew up all the swarm, and got away, and that was it. That would have been fine for me to end. The whole getting back to the space station, all that stuff, and the floating around in the 0G in the center, just unnecessary.
But you have to have a big fight with Idris Elba, otherwise why cast him?
Just for the voice.
Well, I guess, yeah, that's probably true enough.
Yeah, and a few flashbacks. But yeah, it was kind of, the music. I think my quote would be, when she kicks up on the music, he goes, "Nice choice."
That's a good choice.
Yeah, it's a good choice. Sorry, yeah. Possibly I'm embarrassed myself. I should have blatantly watched them. But it obviously goes straight back to the first
09,
movie, where he's obviously playing that in the car. And yeah, so I like that part. So let me quote character. Yeah, probably Alien Woman again. I think that
Jailer,
was nice. Just Jailer. No one else particularly stood out. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, well, fair enough. So I think we've established why that's kind of as low, but why it's made it onto your list then. So 2 points for Star Trek Beyond, currently tying it with Final Frontier. So few. Let's see what happens when we go to you then, DK, and ask for your number 9 film.
Well, in a strange twist of fate, it's Star Trek 5.
Oh, no way. We've swapped.
No conspiracy here at all.
That's funny.
Oh, and well, we've just been talking about it, but what was the reasons it made it onto your list, first of all, and secondly, why it's, I guess, as low as number 9?
I mean, I was going to say thanks everyone for coming. We're done. Star Trek 5 is blatantly the best movie there is.
There are the bones of a decent film in there. And if you look at what was planned, it could have been so good. But despite the fact that it's absolutely riddled with really good character moments for pretty much all of the cast, it just feels off. It never strikes a chord with me.
Yeah, I hate to say it. I think it might be the director who's at fault on that one.
I do understand that he went through quite a lot of budget cuts, and he kept saying, well, you promised me this. No, you can't have that. You promised me this. No, you can't have that. But a better director or a more experienced director would have reined that in. And obviously necessity is the mother of invention. A better director, I would have thought maybe Nimoy could have brought that in and tightened up the movie. But as it stands, this just, as I say, it just feels off. It's there. It's good for what it is, but it could have been so much better.
I'm not sure about that. Have you ever seen anything from the cut scene from the end when they were going to use like bizarre lava monster costumes and everything that they couldn't afford?
I have, and it wasn't an improvement. But
no,
again,
exactly. That's what I mean. Yeah, it's all well and good to say, oh, the budgets were cut, so Shatner couldn't make something good. Well, yeah, but looking at what was going to get put out, even if he had the money, it wasn't going to be great, really, was it?
That's a fair enough point.
Yeah, but oh well. So, without wanting to hopefully repeat ourselves too badly, what was your favorite scene then from Final Frontier?
Like Adrienne, it would have been the lounge scene and the whole, I should have turned left when I should have turned right. I need my pain, that kind of thing. But seeing as Adrienne's already picked that, I think that I'm going to have to go with my next one, which is pure comedy to me, which is the jailbreak scene.
Oh yes, of course. Yeah. Do you not know an old-fashioned jailbreak when you see one?
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
And he's trying the
That's all right.
various ways to get out, and Spock's going, unwise.
Yes, I believe that is the scene that leads to the there's 150 decks on the Enterprise though when they're escaping.
Yes.
All of a sudden, but that's unfortunate. But oh well. So who would be your favorite character then in Final Frontier?
It's got to be Spock. I know it was.
Spock.
I know Roddenberry considered the whole Cyborg thing apocrypha, and I know, again, it's not Spock's best movie. But again, like I said, even though the film for me isn't very good, the character moments really are, and I think Spock is at his best in this one. Well, one of his best in this one.
Yeah. I don't think Nimoy was ever really bad as Spock, even if you look at something like Spock's Brain, which is like, what are you doing to this poor actor? You know what I mean? But he did his best, bless him. Okay.
Spock went through a lot. Really did.
He did, bless him. Yeah, exactly.
Life, death, life, brain, everything.
Yeah. And we're not done yet. Strange New Worlds is coming out in a matter of months, and we'll have even more Spock bizarreness to explore.
Yay! Never-ending Star Trek. Nerds unite! Like we're finally cool.
Yay! Well, I don't know about that. Speak for yourself. I don't think I'll ever be cool. But
Me,
okay.
actually.
Fair enough. What about a good line of dialogue then, DK, from the Final Frontier, if you can think of one?
It's corny, but I do love the "Hold your horse, Captain."
Ah, because yes. Wow,
it's
that is
so terrible.
Really taking me back.
Yeah.
You just love a good pun, really, is what you're saying.
I do.
That's fair enough. Okay, well, so I'll move on to mine then, and my number 9 weirdly kind of corresponds well with Stephen's, because my number 9 is Star Trek 2009, which makes it onto the list. I have well-known issues with this movie, and Stephen knows this only too well because we reviewed this on my film and Star Trek podcasts. The things that grate are really nerdy things, like leaping from cadet to quit to captain in a matter of moments. Speaking of Star Trek Picard. So yeah, I don't love that. I don't love this whole fluid Starfleet or just come on and be a captain from nowhere kind of thing, which the Star Trek 09 is terrible for. There's a couple of sort of obvious like visual things which are a bit kind of like I'd never really loved the Apple Store Enterprise bridge, but I guess you've got to update it somehow, so I can forgive it. And I still think the USS Kelvin is the ugliest starship they've ever come up with. It's just hideous. But there's a lot to like in there as well. I love everything to do with Spock's backstory from when we actually get to see his younger years and him being bullied, and the incredibly satisfying scene where he basically refuses entry to the Science Academy because there's a little bit of bigotry from the Vulcan guys. Oh, despite your disadvantage. And he said, what disadvantage is that? And then with the ultimate gut punch of, well, since I'm only half Vulcan, your record's intact. Lines of dialogue like that are really good and really do get to the core of the characters. It's just a shame that it devolves into a little bit of a Star Wars kind of creatures on a planet and then a shootout and then... But, people wanted action, so I guess it is what it is. But as I say, it wasn't terrible. It's one of the 2 Kelvin timeline movies that make it into my list. I'll say that. And it's watchable enough. It's not something I would put really all that high, but clearly I think it's better than the motion picture. So I guess there is at least that. Let me think. So if I had to pick a favorite scene, I've already described it. It would be the scene of Spock in his younger years, kind of refusing entry and deciding to go to Starfleet and basically sticking it to the Vulcan Science Academy with a very, very sarcastic and pithy "live long and prosper," where you can almost hear the F word immediately following it. So, yeah, I do kind of love that scene. My favorite character in Star Trek 09. It would probably be Spock because I can cheat and then include them both because it's a Spock Prime, I guess, as well. So I do think Spock Prime is better than Quinto Spock, but I'm just going to pick Spock in general. And then, like I said, that gives me a bit of a cheat.
Power being the host, isn't it?
You what? Sorry?
It's the power being the host, you can cheat.
Well, it's a cheat, but it's the same character as the man himself says. It would be self-serving.
But pick one, Mike. But pick one.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one, I would definitely. If I had to, I would definitely go with Spock Prime over Quinto Spock, just because of how he's played. I think Quinto Spock. We've discussed this as well. I think me and DK even discussed this on a podcast that I think Quinto is a little bit too angry on the surface, and maybe it's just because he's played psychopaths so well in like American Horror Story and in Heroes So I always kind of was a bit more scared of him losing his temper than I was with Nimoy, which was always like, you felt bad when he lost his temper and you knew it was severe because Spock would never. Whereas with Quinto, you're just like, yep, the psychopath's at it again. Favorite line of dialogue, and just for pure Star Trek geekery, is Captain Pike's challenge to Kirk in that movie. Your father was captain of a starship for 9 minutes. He saved 9,000 lives, including your mother's and yours. I dare you to do better. That's great. It's a quality line of dialogue. I probably got the numbers a bit wrong there, but you know the scene I'm referring to. So, my number 9, Star Trek 2009. So we'll move on to you, Adrienne, and ask what's your number 9 film on your list.
Sort of funny, but it is Beyond. Woo! Can you believe it?
I knew I liked you. What can I say?
I fit right in. I really like Jayla in that episode, and I just love the Spock McCoy relationship that we see there.
I do love the line where I can't even remember what it is that happens, but it's like McCoy says something like, well, at least if we're going to die together. And then Spock gets beamed out and McCoy just looks into the sky and goes, figures.
Yeah,
that's their relationship in a nutshell, really.
Exactly. Yeah.
Awesome.
I also liked how they took one of the Makos, and they used that, to advantage and to lead to the story. And Idris Elba was just, that twist was so good. So
that was such a cool
I liked
piece
it, yeah.
What kind of Star Trek canon nerds like me mentioning that he was a veteran of the Romulan and Xindi Wars was kind of like, oh, wow.
I know, like, I totally know who Xindi is.
Yeah. And the ship even looked a little bit like the NX-01 Enterprise, which I won't point out that I've got it on a shelf just over to my right, but there's very little Starfleet ships I don't have at this stage. You got Mars. Cool. So what would be your favorite scene then from Star Trek Beyond?
This Spock and McCoy doing their scenes
banter
together, like on the when he was hurt and everything. And my quote is, I like how Jayla called him James T.
Yes.
Yeah, I like that. T. Okay, James T.
Yes, she's a really cool character. I like it. I know my least favorite scene is the random motorbike stunt show that he does on top of the Franklin for no reason, which is just like, what? Okay, this guy directed Fast and the Furious, we get it, but you don't have to put that in just because of that. Yeah. So did we get a scene and character? I think is the last one then. Yeah.
I was just glad that they had Idris Elba. I thought he played a great character. Yeah. Edison Krall.
Yeah, fair enough. That's cool. I mean, as villains go, it's probably one of the best. I think the movies have a bit of a problem getting any better villains than Khan, really, don't they? Not to spoil future perhaps scores, but fair enough. I'll keep us moving then, because we are only here for 2 hours. I say, as I desperately try and film. The number 8 on your list, Stephen. Then what is it?
Into Darkness.
Oh, okay. 3 points for Into Darkness. Okay. Yeah, I mean, somebody's audio's playing up. Have you put your fan on again?
I know. I was like, I did not touch a fan. Is it me, though?
That's fair enough. Can you hear me okay, Stephen? It's not you, is it?
Yeah, I hear. No, I did hear the sound.
I will point out that Star Trek Into Darkness is one of the 3 that didn't make it onto my list. So I'm not loving this decision.
Well, again, I'm throwing there. 7 and 9 were just movies that exist that I...
She wasn't in a movie. Wow, that joke just hit like a brick, didn't it? Okay, sorry. Carry on.
Don't believe you did that.
So, Into Darkness then is good enough to get 3 points from you, huh?
Yeah, I think it was just nice. Well, you didn't really see much of them, but it was nice to see the Klingons in the Kelvin-verse, which is
they were in a deleted scene in Star Trek 09.
So deleted scene, not in the movie. So yeah, it's nice to see the other races. You'll probably see this represented a bit in the other options I'm going to pick. But yeah, seeing like the Klingons in there, and just how the series had progressed a little bit, and then the non-surprise of obviously Khan. Yeah, no, I enjoyed it, and then like what Starfleet could be if they lost some of their morals with how the Admiral went, and then
See, I hate that. I hate anything to do with Section 31, and I just want nothing to do with it.
I
Yeah.
want
So
no
I'm
more
not-
bad admirals. I'm so sick of
Yeah.
bad
Oh,
admirals.
And that, yeah.
It's a terrible cliche, definitely.
It
Oh,
is.
an evil admiral, my God. What a surprise.
But he was Carol Marcus's dad, so that was a bit of a shock.
Indeed. I mean, I'm not going to pick that particular scene as
No.
my favourite scene. We'll go with a different one. You know, even though that's a good scene. Anyway, favourite scene. I do like the bickering near the start between her and Spock, but I'm probably going to go with the Sulu one, where he's sitting in the chair.
Okay.
If you test me, you will fail.
Right.
That was good.
Yeah, it's like nice to see Sulu stepping up there. Yeah.
That's fair enough. It was nice on a very slight spoiler for Star Trek Picard, but it was very nice to learn that in 2401 there's a USS Hikaru Sulu. Because respect to the man, he got a ship named after him. So there we go. Yeah, fair enough. I could rant for hours about my issues with Into Darkness, but I'll wait until you get out your things that you like about it first. So
Feel
who's your
free, yeah.
favourite?
No, yeah. Again, this is sort of middle ground. I enjoy the movie, and yeah. So if you want to go straight, go on. I know you want to.
Oh, I will, but I'll wait till you get your favourite things out first. So I'll ask your favourite character then in that case.
Yeah. Moving on. Sulu because of the
For one scene, I guess. Yeah.
Poker face.
Okay.
Aye, just off that. I don't know.
Just reminding you gave this film 3 points, but okay.
Yeah, but I mean, it's now tying with Undiscovered Country. So yeah. I don't know. Benedict Cumberbatch usually plays a good character. He was very.
I don't think he was great in this movie, to be fair, was he? To be honest.
I don't know. Yeah,
Fair enough.
he's certainly nothing compared to the original Khan.
No, Ricardo Montalban was better, but I think even Cumberbatch is an actor who I've liked in everything. He just seemed constipated to me throughout that movie. He was just constantly like, let me sleep. Okay, get on with it, dude. Okay, well, fair enough. And did I ask you for a favourite? We've got scene, we've got character, favourite line of dialogue.
If you test me, you will fail.
There you go. Fair enough. Just to because this rarely happens, but just to give me a chance to go off because I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I bottled it up. There's so much wrong with that freaking movie, dude. How could you give it 3 points? It starts with a spaceship underwater. What were they thinking?
Detail's not important. Move on. I'd actually forgotten about that entire bit at the start. Yeah, please move on.
The whole point about like breaking the Prime Directive and stuff is a good enough idea, but the ludicrous visual of the Enterprise rising from the water it always reminds me of that joke in Futurama when they send the Planet Express ship down and it's like, oh, we're hitting like 14 atmospheres. How many atmospheres can the ship take? Well, it's a spaceship, so anywhere between 0 and 1. Like, yes, exactly. You know what I mean?
It was a great shot though, the music's kicking in and it rises up and
I guess.
That was not bad with that particular part. Maybe a little bit before that was a bit irrelevant, but yeah, nice way.
On a similar note, how do you justify the transporter that can beam you from Earth to Kronos? Why does Starfleet have ships ever again if they've got transporters that advanced?
Detail's not important. Move on.
So we're not worrying about the fact that we can cure death with the magic blood at the end either.
I don't know what you mean, and yes, detail's not important. Let's move on. It's entertainment value. Let's move on. Yeah.
Disengaged brain, I suppose.
Absolutely, yeah.
I feel the pain of every single one of those 3 points. Let me tell you.
I'm going to
Anyway.
vex you personally. It's fine.
Just a personal needle at me, exactly. Oh, well. We'll go to you, DK, then, and hope that you are in my good books a bit better than Stephen and ask for your number 8.
Well, it's a tie, so I'm going to go with the first one on the list with these two, and it's Generations.
Right, okay. So 3 points for Generations. And what made you pick Generations in this position? What makes it better than the other 5? And why is it not as high as the other 7, I guess?
It's a decent enough film, but it gets very po-faced at times. And that's not always what I look for in a Star Trek movie, for a start. I think
How could you, DK? I'm in that movie.
It has some good moments. But I think both crews that were represented deserved a little better. It was neither one thing nor the other. There were some good moments, and I would have loved to have seen the cutscenes again.
I knew you were going to say that the orbital skydiving scene from the start that they cut with Kirk would have been really cool to see.
Yeah, and the Geordie torture scene.
Yeah, maybe not. I could have lived without that one. Geordie went through.
It's not something I was cheering as. Come on, let's see him again. But the whole scene afterwards, where Soren comes back and says his heart just wasn't in it, and you're like, that's equipped to nothing now.
I guess. Sometimes I think you can do more with the line, though, and that's one of the ones that's like, I get the picture. And again, Geordie had been through so bloody much over the course of that series and everything anyway, that I just felt bad for him at this point.
that first scene as well, that first scene where they couldn't get DeForest and they couldn't get Leonard, so instead, Kirk came on with Chekhov and Scotty, and it's almost like you can see the amount of hatred between Jimmy Doohan at that point and Bill Shatner. And that just really it's a good scene, the whole don't tell me Tuesday thing, but they don't come across as friendly, even though the banter is friendly. You just pick up on certain vibes, and that kind of puts me off. And the whole situation with Picard and where he turns up in the shack with Bill Shatner, where he's outside chopping wood, and
I like that scene. What's wrong with that?
It's all right. It's just that Shatner brings up an old flame that you've never heard of before.
Oh well, yeah, that's Kirk though, isn't it? To be fair, I mean, it's
it would have been nice to have. It would have been nice to have
woman.
like maybe Carol Marcus, commented
I get
on,
you,
but.
Yeah, that would make a lot of sense. I see what
Although
you're saying.
I did like the deadpan Picard. This is not your bedroom.
Yes. Oh, Patrick Stewart's great. But okay, well, so what was your favourite scene then in Generations if you had to pick a favourite?
I do like the bit on the holodeck at the start on the ship where Worf gets his promotion. That's a really good
remove
scene.
Blank.
Yes, and yay!
Oh, wow. Minting box. She's well trained. Nice. Oh yeah, that's cool. That's a nice little scene. Getting his promotion to Lieutenant Commander finally. Awesome. Yeah. So what's your favourite character then in Generations?
It's got to be Data.
Okay, fair enough.
He gets his emotion chip, and some of the best laugh out loud moments are with Data, as in Mr. Tricorder and the whole life forms, scanning for life forms.
Oh, the life form song is brilliant, and the really well used swear word in it as well. When they're crashing and they use the one swear, it's like yes, perfect.
Yes, and it's a fist pump when the ship finally explodes.
Yeah, exactly. Oh yes, when they finally shot the Klingon ship down, and yes,
yeah,
love it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so what's your favorite line of dialogue then?
It's the speech that Kirk gives to Picard. The whole "Don't let them promote you. Don't let them transfer you. While you're on the bridge of that ship, you can make a difference."
Yep, definitely. I would agree. Although Picard didn't listen apparently, but never mind. Again, one of those things we just have to go with. I'm kind of with Picard on that one, to be fair. I don't think I'd be captaining a starship in my 90s. But like, you'll say what you want, Kirk, but I'm tired. I'm just going to live in my vineyard at this point.
It did look a pretty good life in that episode, you've got to be honest.
Oh, it looks amazing. Just wait till you see, the first episode of Series 2. Just why would you leave? You've got a hot Romulan there all over you. You've got a lovely job in a vineyard. Stay where you are, man. Oh, well, there we go. My number 8 movie then, moving us swiftly along. My number 8 is Star Trek Insurrection. I know this one gets a lot of hate, and I know there were people that probably would think it would be one of the 3 that wouldn't make it. But for me, everybody else's problem with it, which I've actually heard the criticism a load of times, it's just a 2-part episode of The Next Generation, to which I say, yes, and? Why is that a bad thing? We all love The Next Generation, and it has a lot of great 2-parters, but there's no problem with that. I mean, yeah, it's not hugely cinematic, and yes, it has some pretty dodgy sexist jokes and things in there at times, but I think it's got some great action. It's got a fantastic message at the core of it, which is, how many people does it take before it becomes wrong? It has some actually really good moments of humor, like the last thing Data was doing was rehearsing Gilbert and Sullivan. So if we sing along with him, he'll kind of reboot. And I mean, come on, you an action sequence where they're singing HMS Pinafore while these two spaceships are just spinning around and hitting each other in space, and it's like, how many places can you see that other than Star Trek? It's brilliant.
It's okay. it's one of my 3 that's out of the top 10, if I'm being honest. Simply because I just find it a little pedestrian. It's not hit against it, but
yeah. Well, you wouldn't be the only one, as I say. We did briefly when I was on the test thing with the guys who were hosting this. They said we're not going to give our top 10, but we'll tell you which 3 won't make it. And Insurrection came up a lot. I was like, oh, see, I like it. I don't think it's kind of the way Steven sees a lot of these films. It's inoffensive. I could just sit and watch it like an episode of Star Trek. It washes over me, and it's enjoyable, and you don't think too deeply about it at the end of the day. But
that's fair enough.
It's just, it's just good. My favorite scene, I actually like a lot of the scenes from Insurrection, bizarrely enough, but picking a favorite one, that's tough. It would probably be that scene at the start with the mission scout ship and the shuttle, and they're singing HMS Pinafore and trying to talk down Data. I think it would be that scene. My favorite character in Insurrection would definitely be Picard, because it's basically the whole thing is a reflection of his morality, and it's also about him trying to get laid, essentially, with this super young woman on the planet. But yeah, you know what I mean. It's nice to actually give him a decent romance. Probably not coincidental that Patrick Stewart was a producer of the film as well. But I think it was good. I actually thought they had chemistry, him and Donna Murphy as well, and the plot was pretty good for him. So I would say Picard. Favorite line of dialogue? It's really cheesy, and it's a line of dialogue that I know is the reason why people who have talked about it hate it. But I really love the cheesiness of prepare to eject the warp core. I just did. It's action movie cliche, but I can't help it. It's like, yeah, you did, Geordie. Well done. So I'd go with that, and then I would swiftly move along because everybody's just very silent in a sort of like, how could you possibly pick that kind of way? So, Adrienne, what's your number 8 film? He said with a very red.
Oh, let me see. It's Generations. All right.
Okay.
Yes, new one. I love this movie because I think Guinan is so great, but if I had to pick my favorite character, it would be Data. I thought it got a little cliche with some of his humor stuff, but my favorite line still the whole thing is, it is revolting. I was like just going to say that.
Yeah. It is revolting. Like more, that. Please.
More. Yes, please. I'll take more. Down to the whole thing. So I liked it.
Yes. I think Whoopi Goldberg's amazing. Any and every time she plays Guinan.
I know.
He said without wanting to give too many spoilers.
Yeah. I'm excited about that too. No spoilers. Yeah, she steals the scenes. Yeah.
She really does. She's so good.
She does. She is. Love her.
It's a shame she never got more to do after that until... Fingers crossed now. But there we go. That cameo in Nemesis was unforgivable, just having to sit there and say nothing. What was the point? Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So who would be your favorite character in Generations then?
It's a tie with Data and Guinan. I mean, it's not a story. It's not a story without either of them. So I'm going to say.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
But if I have to pick, it'll be Data.
That's all right then, yeah. Well, Data and Picard are basically the through line of all of the next gen movies, aren't they? So that makes sense. What's your favorite scene in the movie then?
I like the bar scene where he's drinking. There's so much heaviness in the movie, but sometimes I just need humor, and I like the part where he's trying the beverage. That's it.
Yeah. It also leads into the really cool sort of tense scene between Picard and Soren when Soren's effectively reading his mind, and he's like, Captain, they say time is the fire in which we burn. And
I know. And Picard's like, are you kidding me right now?
If only that had been his exact line.
I know. It would totally suit. I don't know why I don't write Star Trek dialogue. Exactly.
It would have to be said in a posh British accent, though, so it'd be more like, are you kidding me right now? Stop reading my bloody mind.
When I first saw the movie, I was like, Sauron? Really? I mean, are we so nerdy that we're bringing a Lord of the Rings, so like we're bringing a Tolkien? I was like, is it really Sauron? Come on, it can't be Sauron. It's basically Sauron.
That's true, I guess. Yeah, fair enough.
I never really picked up on
that. And lastly, favorite line of dialogue then in the movie.
It is revolting. We did, yes. It is revolting.
Okay,
yes, it is revolting.
That's fair enough. Yeah, that's a good choice. That's all right then. Awesome. Well, so we are on to everyone's number 7 now then. So we'll go back to you, Stephen. Number 7, another one you also don't really care for, but why the heck not?
I'm not saying these movies are bad. They're just I can sit and enjoy them and watch them. Mostly, there are parts
I swear he is a Star Trek fan, people. Believe it or not, he really is.
Haven't watched the latest episodes or anything. Why am I even here? Why am I even here? And definitely with the next pick. Why am I really here? So Nemesis.
Oh, what are you doing? Get out! Get out of the stream!
I knew you'd say that. Again, just as I was saying, before with the Klingons, it was nice to see the Romulans featured, not just the Federation as always.
It would have been nice to see the Romulans instead of whatever those horrible vampire bloody things were.
Well, we'll forget. The Reman part is the part of the movie I just don't really like that, and just get in the bin. And
it's still bad.
Yeah, no. But you've got amazing spaceship, pew pew pew. That was always good. You've got a cameo from Kate Mulgrew, Janeway, and here you're asking Picard, does he want to go to Romulus? And he's like, with or without the fleet. So that's not a bad quote. I've actually had to go and Google some quotes here because I can't quote them as well as you.
Well, then you should be ashamed of yourself.
I should.
Best of luck finding a half-decent one from Nemesis.
Well, that was it. You've just had it. Character-wise, as you've just mentioned, really, a lot of the next-gen ones are just the Picard and
it's
Data
Picard and
show.
Data, yeah.
So I'm going to go with the female Romulan officer.
Purely because she's played by Dina Meyer?
No. Moving on.
Her name's Donatra, if you're curious.
Of course I know the details. I just chose not to mention it. Yes. But yeah, no, enjoy it. Just it shows a different side of the Trek universe, really.
Yes, the bad one. Anyway, so your favorite character is Donatra, and your favorite line of dialogue was the one you were able to look up and find. I can't even remember.
Yeah, so I looked up and find the quote, the scene with Janeway where he's cards to you go to Romulus, and he's like, with or without the fleet.
I see. And so favorite character was the other one that I didn't get to.
Donatra.
Oh yeah. So favorite scene. Sorry, as if I don't know what you're going to say.
Pew pew pew. Spaceship.
It's the Enterprise ramming the scimitar, isn't it? Really?
I thought it was nice having a proper stealth, ship fight. Not that we'll get to that later.
Okay, fair enough. You should be ashamed of yourself. That film is terrible.
It's a pleasure to be here and taunt you throughout my entire list.
That was also one of the 3 that didn't make my list because I detest that film and everything it stands for. I'm sorry. I just hate everything about it. I hate the Remans as an idea. I hate the incredibly sexist fallback. Oh, we're going to mind rape Troy scene because we're beyond this now, aren't we? I hate the incredible cheesiness.
That gives a reason for Riker to be angry, and have that side of the movie, so it wasn't again just the Picard and Data show.
Which it was anyway, though. I hate B4. B4 is stupid. It's a terrible idea, as evidenced by the fact that they literally undo the end of that movie 3 seconds into Picard season 1. Oh, it didn't take. Yeah. Never mind. But it's a bad idea. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't like the dialogue. I think Tom Hardy is terrible in this film. I don't understand how that man has a career after this was his first performance.
He was really disappointed in that movie, actually. He thought that movie was going to launch his career.
Yeah, well...
so he put a lot of effort into trying to be a really good character and mirror Patrick Stewart in a way. In certain mannerisms.
That was probably his problem then in that case, because there's a lot of overacting coming through in that. But yeah, I don't like that idea either, that Patrick Stewart looked like Tom Hardy when he was younger and was inexplicably bald in his 20s. Yeah, a minor niggle, but still annoying.
Well, they already did the flashback in the Q episode where he's already in the academy. Or is he just, he was a young officer at that stage, and he's already
just getting shipped out after the academy, but he has hair.
Yeah.
I'll point that out. Yeah. In those flashbacks, when it's not actually just like Patrick Stewart as we see him, he does, yes.
I'm gonna have to go and Google that, and I'll let the people in the chat maybe comment upon that as we're having a chat.
I'm not even seeing the chat. Is anybody saying anything, by the way?
You click on the comment option.
I'm not
on the right.
seeing anything.
Comments on the right hand side.
Did any of you enjoy Into Darkness? Somebody says. Well, yes, somebody did.
Yes.
Generations was the first.
I will represent the common people. It's fine.
In Tapestry, see, CloneStar podcast agrees. In Tapestry, it shows him when he was younger with hair. See.
So anyway, ignoring CloneStar,
who are hosting this whole thing, by the way. But, yeah, they also say the charity link should appear in the description. Hopefully it is. Yeah. Insurrection gets demoted 2 places for beardless Riker.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. Okay. So what was that? That was your number 7, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And
let's not get to actual movies I have an opinion about.
We'll actually get into 6 films you apparently like at this point, then I guess. So, DK, what was your number 7 film?
I'm going to get a lot of hate for this one, but you've got to bear in mind, I'm a child of the original series. The next one's First Contact.
Oh, CloneStar, can we kick him out with the stream?
No, I like it. I just like some of the other movies more.
Oh, that's going to throw off my numbers.
6 of them as well. Yeah.
Yes. Oh, dear me. Consider him gone and banned this year. Okay, well, so obviously the reason would be that you're more of an original series fan, which I guess I can respect, but is that the only reason why First Contact doesn't make it higher than 7?
It feels a little... when I first watched it, it felt a little insular to me. Like it's very... all takes place in such a small cosmos. The entire Borg battle at the start, they rescue one ship. Oh, it just happens to be the Defiant because, obviously Worf's on it. I like it. It felt like it took place in too small a universe to me.
I would say the opposite. I thought it expanded the universe quite well.
Once they go back, I absolutely adore it. But at the time, I can remember seeing it in the cinema and being a little disappointed at first. And that kind of feeling just always stuck with me. But again, like I say, maybe it's just because I'm a child of the original series.
Okay. So you preferred the Battle of Wolf 359 when you just didn't see it at all?
Oh, no. It wasn't that. It was just... I don't know. There was just something about it. It looked great, but it just felt very enclosed to me. And I didn't... I've never been a huge fan of the... I think we discussed this at one point in one of the Hit or Miss podcasts. I've never been a huge fan of the Borg Queen as a character.
Well, yeah, that's a controversial thing one way or the other, I guess, yeah. But...
yeah, the Borg to me have always been more threatening as a collective.
Yeah. I think that's fair, yeah. But if you had to pick a favourite character from First Contact then? Because it is your number 7, so it did get 4 points. So what would it be?
It's definitely Picard in this. Picard comes into his own, really, in this one. He was kind of just left there in generations previously, but in this, he's front and center. He gets most of the character development, and he turns into a proper, again, harking back to a previous podcast, he turns into pretty much the Space John McClane.
Yeah, he does as well. It's true, absolutely. I was just going to say Picard McClane. The line must be drawn here, etc.
Yeah.
And what was your favorite line of dialogue from First Contact?
You just said it. Okay. That entire
whole scene.
That scene is just so powerful.
I think if the Academy Awards weren't biased against sci-fi, that was some Oscar-winning stuff in that scene. Personally, I've always said that. I think him and Alfred Woodard in that scene are great. So, would that be your favorite scene from First Contact?
That would be my favorite scene from First Contact, definitely. Although I do have to give little bonus points. It's not a scene as such, but the look on Jonathan Frakes' face when Troy falls down drunk.
Oh, Troy drunk
every time. It just cracks me up.
Yes. Oh, awesome. Well, I will have some rebuttals to that, but suffice to say they'll probably come up later. First Contact will probably feature somewhere higher up on some of our lists, I would hope. So I'll give you my number 7. And again, we've talked about it at length, but my number 7 was Star Trek Generations. For much the same reasons as Insurrection is my number 8. It just seems like an episode of Star Trek, and I can put it on and it's inoffensive and it's fun and there's cool moments. There's some good humor that I like, some decent action scenes. some pretty good, memorable dialogue. And at the end of the day, yes, it doesn't set the world on fire, but it's just enjoyable, pleasant, Star Trek. So that's what else can I really say except that. My favorite character in Generations, I would go Picard, because for whatever reason, I just relate to his whole kind of coming to terms with his own mortality throughout that movie. It's a message that seems to resonate every time Picard appears ever since then, but I think it's probably the most powerful in Generations. And yeah, I like his through line doing that. And then the fact that, as you say, it does culminate in kind of, you are important, you can be a hero, because he's talking Kirk into it again. So that's pretty cool. Favorite scene in Generations? Let's think. It would probably be, this is going to really sound sadistic, but it's probably the crash of the Enterprise D, just because it was kind of cool to see a realistic looking sort of Starship crash special effect. And I thought it looked really good. Yeah, I was going to say on the big screen, but I didn't see it on the big screen. It just looked good on whatever video cassette I was watching. So I'll probably go with that. A whole fight actually ending in that. My favorite line of dialogue is the exchange at the very end between Riker and Picard, where Picard says, I'd rather believe time's like a companion that goes with us on the journey, reminds us to cherish every moment because they'll never come again. After all, we're only mortal, to which Riker responds, speak for yourself, sir, I plan to live forever. So, yeah, that's cool. We'll move on to you then, because I'm trying to keep time flowing a bit better. So, Adrienne, what's your number 7 film?
My number 7 is A Search for Spock.
Ooh, okay.
I like this movie. It's I'm a child of the original series too, and I like to have this in my top 10 somewhere, but it's not my favorite, but still I just love that movie.
That's fair enough. So you probably just like stuff. A lot of your top 7, I think, is probably then in that case. More than Stephen does his anyway. That's okay. So who's your favorite character then from Search for Spock? Is his name in the title?
Rouge. He's a bad guy. Yeah, I love
Brown Klingon.
Yes, yeah.
Great Scott Kirk.
Yeah. I love all the Vulcan stuff in there. I love all the Vulcan stuff too, like how they have a Klingon ship on a Vulcan planet. I just love all of that.
That's cool. So what's your favorite scene in Search for Spock? I think I can potentially guess, but we'll find out.
I like when they're well, I don't like all the stuff when he's aging on the planet, but I like how they're fighting over him at the end.
So the fight with Kirk and Cruise at the end. Maybe.
Yeah, they're fighting.
That wasn't the scene I would have thought, but okay.
But I just I like the idea they're fighting over him because that's why Kirk stole the ship to get there to begin with. He loves him.
Of course, yeah. Awesome. And so what's the favorite line of dialogue from Search for Spock?
I have been and shall ever be your friend.
Yes, fair enough. I mean, that's more so from Wrath of Khan, but I'll give it to you. I guess that's fair enough. Awesome. That's okay. As I say, number 7 is not a shameful position. It is if you put Nemesis in there, but some people are fools. Speaking of which, what's your number 6 movie, Stephen, for 5 points?
Oh, Voyage Home.
Read very carefully, by the way.
Indeed, Voyage Home. I went with.
Some people are not going to be happy that's quite so low, but okay.
I am not here to keep people happy, and especially not you, apparently, so far.
Don't say it.
Yeah, no, enjoy it. Yeah, blast the past and all that. Yeah, good. I enjoy it. And there's just others I enjoy more. Like the scene on the bus. Where you've got the guy and he's just like, well, the net pitch, right? You're gone, move on. There's lots of different scenes in there that are good, and not just you, even just getting past the wheel bit.
Fraunhofer's in the chat is not happy with you.
Well, yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can have your opinion. Well, so I don't hear your list here. Get away.
All right, calm down. Don't attack the audience. It's a charity stream, for crying out loud. Okay. So your favorite?
I'll change my opinion if you donate more.
You're going to change your opinion anyway, son, when you see me next. But never mind.
But yes, we're pushing for time, so let's go.
Yeah. What's your favorite? Your favorite sort of character scene? Well, your favorite scene is the bus scene. So favorite character and line of dialogue.
Yeah.
What is it?
Line of dialogue will be the wheel song. There you go. There you
Okay.
go, wheel song.
You
I
are
knew what he
sorted.
said, yeah. Or whatever he said. Yeah, because we all understood exactly what he said there.
We're Geordies, we speak wheel. They're all just going, Howie, why I? Very regional joke for people there, but never mind. I am so sorry. I don't know. It's 11:09 p.m.
Yes.
I'm tired.
Moving swiftly on.
Please, yes. So dialogue, character. Yes, that was the one. Favorite character.
Spock was quite cool in that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was waiting for you to say the two whales. And
I was tempted. I was quite tempted to say, what's Gracie? What's the other whale called?
George
and
Gracie.
Yeah, of course.
After the comedians, yeah.
But no, I thought
dear.
that was quite cool in that. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Those
They weren't as
trying to
cool as the
learn who he
dolphins
is
on their
himself
lower
again
decks.
and
But,
things. That's true, yeah, the dolphins. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, I'll move us on then to number 6, DK. What is it on your list for 5 points?
It's Star Trek 2009.
09, okay. And why would you have it as your number 6? What's your favorite scene, character, and line of dialogue?
The reason it's number 6, again, it's one of the ones I saw in the cinema. Wasn't really keen at first. It's grown on me immeasurably since then. So it's one of those that whenever it's on TV, I will always sit down and watch it. I think it does capture the spirit quite well of the original cast. Favorite scene, it still has to be the one with Nimoy back as Spock, where he's talking to Chris Pine in the cavern.
Right.
Could
have lived without the creature thing, but okay.
Well, yeah, it did seem a little Phantom Menace, that one.
It was very Star Wars, really.
Yeah, but the discussion between Pine and Nimoy, I love that. It always gets me emotional.
I've just remembered as well, because I've already picked 09. I've completely forgotten what my actual favourite line of dialogue is, because I picked something deep and profound, when in actual fact what I should have picked was, "You're from the future. Do they still have sandwiches there?" Which I just always forget, and yet it's one of the funniest lines, I think, in any of the movies.
My favourite line is from Scotty as well, just after you have all that tension on the bridge. He says, "I like this ship. It's exciting."
Fair enough. And so character would be Spock, yeah?
No. Character in this one is Carl Urban as Bones. I think Carl Urban did really good Bones in this.
Yes, he's pitch perfect. He deserves more love, yes. We all should have shouted him out because, yes, he is the closest to that actual original series character. And it's just unbelievable. He's inhabiting that character in a way that nobody else quite does, I think. So completely agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right. I'm getting distracted by the chat, but so what is this then? People's number 6. My number 6 for 5 points was Star Trek Beyond, because I actually really like Star Trek Beyond. It's my favorite of the Kelvin timeline films because it was the first one that did something original, in my opinion. The first one's just setting up everything to become more like TOS, and it has Spock in and everything. Into Darkness is just Wrath of Khan redo. But Beyond, I liked the plot. I liked that it was challenging Starfleet's core ideas. And I liked that it had a decent cast, as you say. Idris Elba was good. Sofia Boutella was good. There was some good action. There was some pretty dodgy motorbike action as well. But all around, I liked it. I thought my favorite character in Beyond was... That's a tough one. I probably would say Jayla as well. Although I do like the actual sort of the main Enterprise crew. But Jayla was just cool. My favorite scene would be when the Franklin is actually taken off from orbit. When you think, again, it's cliche as all heck, and I'd fall for it every time, but when it sort of falls from the cliff and you're like, oh no, what's going to happen? James Bond's going to die. And then the ship just kind of rises up and flies off into space. So that would be my favorite scene. And my favorite line of dialogue, as I mentioned, would just be when Spock gets beamed away and McCoy just looks into the air and goes, it figures. So yes, I like Beyond. I would stick up for it all the time. I think it's a very good movie and somewhat underrated. But there we go. Adrienne, what is your number 6 movie for 5 points?
My number 6. Can you guys hear me? Sorry. My number 6 is the motion picture.
Oh wow, quite high.
Yeah, I do. I love Leah and Decker's relationship. I think it's really great. And of course, I saw this in the theater.
Okay, but they are very much the proto Riker and Troy, to be fair, aren't they? So yeah, fair enough. And favorite terms of scene, character, and line from the motion picture.
Oh, that's where she says Decker, and but she's also so cold. This part, so look at why did
you have all the cool toys?
Why did V'ger put her in this?
You have to recreate the scene now, just using action figures.
I know, I do that. You should see they're discussing uniforms. She's like, I have a pair of pants you could borrow. I don't think I'm allowed to wear pants.
This unit is not allowed to wear pants.
Yes.
V'ger has no sense of modesty. Yes. Okay. Fair enough. I notice nobody's giving you grief for having the motion picture on your list like I got, but whatever.
I know.
But yeah, cool. That's fair enough. And so your favorite character would be Ilea, I guess.
Yes,
probably.
my favorite. Absolutely.
Your favorite scene. Your favorite scene has to just be the. Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, I'm just going to pretend it was the Enterprise flyby so that I can feel justified. And,
why was it a half hour looking at the new Enterprise?
Because it looked amazing.
It was amazing. Again, yes, beautiful.
Why wouldn't you? It was so good they repeated it half the length in Wrath of Khan. But why not? And so yeah, favorite line of dialogue then.
That was Decker. Yeah, when she's
Decker.
home. Yeah.
Decker unit. Oh, fair enough. Awesome. So then number 5 on everyone's list, which will be getting, 6 points. Yep. So your number 5 for 6 points, Stephen, please.
Generations.
Yeah. Okay.
Already been covered, I think, plenty. Well, yeah, the first one from the Generation cast, really. Really enjoyable movie. Got some Klingons in there, classic enemy. Really enjoyed it. You had Guinan in there, probably my favorite character there. Obviously, Whoopi Goldberg was always good in there. I think the time is like Predator quote that's already been mentioned is a great line. And then the ship crashing. You've mentioned the effects there, but the fact that you've crashed your starship, a bit like this was the end of Wrath of Khan. Was it Wrath of Khan? Not Wrath of Khan, no.
Search for
Spock, where they destroy the ship. And it's like, where can you go from there? You've destroyed the ship. And Star Trek is as much about the crew as the Enterprise itself. So, doing that at the end of your movie was...
They don't destroy the ship themselves, though. They don't auto-destruct it in Generations. They get it blown up by the Klingons.
I'll refrain from sexist comments. That's fine. Let's move on.
Yes, we all know the joke. I'm not even going to justify it.
I didn't say it. It's fine.
Exactly. That's fair enough. So, just quickly then,
covered it a lot.
Character dialogue,
quote, and the scene, the ship crashing. There's other bits throughout the movie. It's just really good. Really good movie. Enjoyed it. One of the first ones I think I saw in general. Not the first one I think I did see actually. My number one choice I think is the first Star Trek movie I've seen. Certainly it has the most impact.
Okay.
Which is why it's my number one choice. But anyway, we'll get to that in a few more.
We will. That's fair enough. So that's worth 6 points for Generations though, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
So DK, you're number 5 for 6 points.
Search for Spock.
Search for Spock for 6 points. And why? What do you like from that movie?
It gets a lot of hate, and I think it gets a lot of hate unfairly. I think it's a good old-fashioned little romp.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I would probably say the same thing. So, do you have your favorite kind of line of dialogue and scenes and characters in that one?
The favorite scene is the, sir, someone stealing the Enterprise. Love that bit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and then the Excelsior trying to chase them and not doing so well. Okay.
Even now, when they're trying to get the space dock doors open, I'm still holding my breath every time I watch it.
Yes. Okay. Fair enough. All right.
Favorite line: the whole bit at the end that my father says, "You've been my friend. You came back for me," and that whole little where they repeat what they went through in Wrath of Khan. But it's so emotional when they're trying to recover his memory.
Yeah, it's true. It's very, very, very good. Yeah, okay. Cool. Yeah, mods, if we could get somebody into the chat, we have some not particularly great people in here just to shout it out. I don't know if you're around CloneStar, but I think some people taking advantage of our goodwill, shall we say. Okay. So yeah, Search for Spock, I think, is very underrated. Just to move it back to the actual subject at hand, it gets a lot of unnecessary hate because I think a lot of people said that whole thing about even numbered Star Treks are good and odd numbered are bad, which I never agreed with when it came to Search for Spock.
I think it's
I'm with
because it goes between two such strong episodes that it kind of just gets a little bit overlooked.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, fair enough. So you prefer your favorite scene would be trying to escape the Excelsior stealing the Enterprise, the tension of will the door open in time? Again, cliche, but what the heck, if it works, doesn't it? So,
yeah, exactly.
That's awesome. Yeah. So do you have a favorite character and line of dialogue quickly then?
I do like the Bones in this one again. And Kirk, how many fingers am I holding up? That's not very damn funny.
Yeah. Oh, in the bar as well. Yeah, that cool scene. Excellent.
Yeah.
Awesome. And okay, so that's probably one of your lines of dialogue. Anything by Bolton's really as well. So,
definitely.
Cool. So my number 5 is Star Trek IV: The Voyage Home. Perhaps controversially, I do like it. Obviously, number 5 is not a bad position, but for me, it's just not necessarily action-packed enough for me in the way that Star Trek is. I love that it has no violence and that Leonard Nimoy is proud of that, and that's fair enough. I love the humor in it. I think it's brilliant. And everything that people like about the film, I do like, but for me, it is just a little bit like I go into a Star Trek film to see starships and sci-fi, not people roaming around 1986 aquariums. It's a little bit kind of, okay, maybe we could have paced it a bit better, but having said that, I do love, my favorite line is, hello, computer. Keyboard, how quaint. Scotty being kind of out of time and everything. My favorite character in Voyage Home is Spock, just because he's coming back to terms. Scotty, there he is. Spock coming back to terms with his humanity and just of the whole, everything from the whole, I don't understand, the computer's asking me how I feel, to, everything and trying to hide who he is with the headband in 1986 and nerve pinching the punk dude and everything. So, yeah. And, favorite scene, therefore, in The Voyage Home. It's got to be the whale rescue at the very end, and then the Bird of Prey's epic sort of swooping under the Golden Gate Bridge. It just looks amazing and it's cool. That's using your time period well, I think. So that's what I would go with for that. Yes, I agree with you, Fraunhoff's. Voyage Home's lovely and fun. It is. Search for Spock. Alexa, Irene mentions the line, and if my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a wagon. Scotty talking about the Excelsior and its trans warp. Yes, there's a lot of good lines, isn't there? That's fair enough. So, my home assistant just went off because I said your first name, Alexandra Irene, shall we say. Okay, that's fair enough. So we're on to... I'm all over the place here. Yes, my number 5 was The Voyage Home. So your number 5, Adrienne, for 6 points.
My number 5 is a huge surprise. It's The Voyage Home. I love it because of all the humor. And of course, I messed up my notes earlier because you should see these. It's really so crazy. I'll show you guys my notes. I love how they started out on Vulcan with a Klingon ship. I just thought that was great. I loved all the humor and all the stuff about using hell and stuff like that. Like my favorite line would be, "Oh, the hell I am." All those.
Oh yes, because he's
right.
It might be time for some
the hell I am,
colorful metaphors.
Colorful metaphors, right?
Yes. And you're not exactly catching us at our best. That much is certain.
My favorite character for sure in this one is Spock. Favorite line: "The hell I am."
Yes. One of my other favorite lines has been mentioned by David Tucker in the chat, and I'd be remiss if I didn't say it is fantastic with Gillian just saying to him, "Oh, so you're from outer space?" And Kirk's reply, "No, I'm from Iowa. I only work in outer space." Yes, brilliant line. And for that matter, again, it's cheesy, but just the line, "Everybody remember where we parked," when they cloak the Bird of Prey and walk out. Pretty cool. So that's fair enough. So number 4 on everyone's list then. Stephen, we'll start with you. What's your number 4 for 7 points?
Number 4. Remember, I'm your friend.
That's to be decided.
That's always a good start.
Wrath of Khan.
Oh, okay. Wow. Chat, how are we liking that being in fourth place. I'll just leave that with you. Why fourth place, Stephen? Then.
Well, it's great. It's a good movie. I just like others more.
Okay.
Good movie. Definitely the most quotable. Everyone knows the one particular quote from that movie.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Absolutely. My quote though would be, "I don't believe in a no-win scenario."
Yeah, I've never believed in the no-win scenario. Yes, absolutely.
He throws that in quite a few times. And obviously, favorite character would be Khan himself. All the scenes with Khan in are really great.
So
good. The various stuff where he's talking to his crew and he's going to chase Kirk and all that. It's really good.
So good.
Really good.
Yeah.
That's a great movie. You made me put them in an order, so that's unfortunately.
Well, there's a bit of a debate going on in chat. Some people are, as I suspected, seeing 4 seems kind of low. Some are saying top 4 is close to favourites, which I would agree with, but not with Stephen, who only apparently likes 6 of the movies. So
people have to ban him from the chat.
Exactly. Yeah. My top 3 are each of a different part of Trek.
That's okay if it doesn't connect
that
with you.
Isn't my favourite original series movie.
Okay. So what was the one scene that you liked then out of those? Because that's the only thing we haven't really had.
I've been sitting here thinking of one, and
there's so many, dude.
Yeah, there's so many great scenes. Again, all the ones with Khan in. One that just dropped in my head. The bit where they put the codes in and just drop the shields. It's only part of the time. It's really been used since. Every other time they seem to conveniently forget they can do that to Federation.
Yes, ships. I'm sending it now, Khan, and he uses the command codes or whatever to drop the shields, and you see the little dots.
That was quite cool. You know how they would get past that and do that. But we'll throw that in.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, before I get kicked from the chat, we'll move on.
That's fair enough. There's somebody who's going to get even more hate. I've never seen Star Trek, another great podcast. Want to talk controversial takes? 5 is my second favorite original series movie and better than 2. Final Frontier better than Wrath of God. Get out.
Oh my God.
You've clearly never seen Star Trek.
Blasphemer.
Do not blaspheme. Fair enough. We're running short on. We're just about within half an hour of ending, so just quickly then I'll try and whiz through the next few. Your number 4, DK, for 7 points.
That would be the motion picture.
The motion. Oh, that's high. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought Adrienne was going to be the highest for that, but okay. What do you love about the motion picture after we completely ripped into it?
I wasn't crying at all. I could just sit and watch it all.
I defended it for what it's worth. It was Stephen.
You are going to watch it all day. That's the problem.
That's it. I could just do that. It's like Mike said about Insurrection. It's just Star Trek to me. It's pleasant. It's relaxing. Apart from the transport scene, I can just put it on and just it washes over me.
Fair enough. I think it depends when you grew up and what your Trek is, maybe. But
yeah.
So, favorite character, scene, and line quickly then.
Favorite character, it's got to be Spock. Favorite scene, it's either the Enterprise flyby, so beautiful, or
same as me again.
The scene in the lounge where Kirk keeps trying to get Spock to sit down. And because I didn't say it earlier, special shout out to Dr. McCoy's fantastic 70s disco chest hair and medallion when he beams back. I mean, it's the 2270s, not the 1970s, and yet he just comes in looking like he's just strode straight out of Studio 54. You drafted me back here. Now I'm going to have to shave my chest. Fully Austin Powers of him. But okay, that's fair enough. So my number 4 is Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. For all the reasons that I already mentioned. You're just showing off all your figures, Adrienne. But yeah, as I said, the reasons I love Search for Spock are everything I mentioned. I think it's well overhated and underrated. I think Christopher Lloyd is great as the villain. I think it's a fantastic plot. I love the kind of crew all coming together just to be a skeleton crew and steal the Enterprise, and the kind of humor of the Excelsior. I've mentioned it on my podcast, and I can't remember who I was with. It's probably going to be one of you two, but I think it doesn't get enough credit for introducing some fantastic ships into the Star Trek universe, because without Search for Spock, you haven't got the Oberth class, the Excelsior class, or the Klingon Bird of Prey, all of which are just great. The Merchantmen, of course, that's the other one, my other favorite model. These kind of cargo ships. So
it doesn't get enough credit just on a visual. What's the word I'm looking for? Like set decoration, I guess, level and everything. But for me, the ultimate powerful kind of scene and moment, and scene and line of dialogue, sorry, is one of the only times that Shatner has actually been a good actor and almost made me cry, which is when Savick just coldly says, "Admiral David is dead," and he can't even sit back on his chair, and he just collapses and just goes, "You Klingon bastard! You killed my son."
Yeah.
I was just, I'm even just talking it back and thinking about it. I'm almost in floods of tears, and I'm like, "Oh, that is powerful stuff." So that's my favorite line of dialogue, for certain. My favorite scene is similar to that. It's when Kirk has set the auto-destruct and the Klingons are sort of, nobody is here. The only thing that's talking is the computer. What's it saying? 4, 3, get out of there!
Yeah.
Boom!
Get out of there!
Exactly. But similarly, on a sort of close second in the dialogue, I do love the scene of Kirk saying, "My God, Bones, what have I done?" And Bones' response, "What you had to do, what you always do. You've turned death into a fighting chance to live." So absolutely love that. And so what did we say then? So that's dialogue, that's scene. My favorite character in The Search for Spock is Kirk. Because I think it is more with Spock, kind of, it's all about the search for him, and it is kind of what Kirk's loyalty to him, how much of a level it will push him to, and ultimately, it costs him even his own son. He paid the ultimate price, as he says, I think, in either this movie or Voyage Home. So, yeah, I think Search for Spock is Kirk's movie for me. Awesome. So, what is your number 4 movie then, Adrienne?
My number 4 is Undiscovered Country. I just love that movie. It's so good. I've watched it a million times. I know the dialogue. My favorite character is Chang.
I was just going to say, I bet you have a General Chang figure.
I mean, there's dialogue. He's great. I love all the Kittimer scenes, and the torpedo lock and load, I think, is great with McCoy. That's my favorite scene. Yeah.
And you're a fan of Sex and the Starship, Kim Cattrall.
Yeah, she's I loved her. I think she played a great character. I love that whole storyline about how she's a big cheater, and they have the different sides of it and everything, and with the 2 guys and finding the boots and everything. I love that story.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, that's fair enough. So, favorite sort of scene, line of dialogue, and character then from Undiscovered Country, quickly.
Okay, so Chang, the lock and load, and I love the Kittimer scenes. Chang's my favorite character.
Okay, favorite line? Did you have one or?
Isn't there lock and load?
Okay, fair enough.
Okay.
I was expecting you to go with Cry Havoc and Let Slip the Dogs.
Well, I thought I would, but then I have to start quoting more Shakespeare. But that would probably be my favorite, but I guess it's a tie. So you know me too well.
That's fair enough. Awesome. Okay, so we are back to you, Stephen, for your number 3. We're getting into our top 3s now. So what's your number 3 movie?
Star Trek.
09?
Yeah. Yeah.
Get out.
I'll say
Get out.
Yeah. I'm not here to be your friend. I'm here to give my opinion.
I have never been more disappointed in you.
Oh, believe me, there's still time.
Don't say that.
Sorry, it won't be here now. My last 2, I'm confident on my last 2. That's fine.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, it relaunched it for a new age. Generations had its moments, but it brought Star Trek up to speed. And yeah, there was plenty of things wrong with it, lens flare, all bunch of stuff. But yeah, I enjoy it. It's fun. As I say, it brought Star Trek to a whole new generation of people.
There's things to like in there, but I think third best is still very generous, to be honest. But anyway,
that's fine. We've got the motion picture just running behind me. Someone who were nameless picked motion picture just recently. Just not to highlight that.
I didn't quite have it above 09 in my list. I'm sorry, it was just below, but whatever.
Yeah, the Star Trek didn't feel like Star Trek, but anyway, favorite character, Pike.
Says the man who picked Star Trek 09. That sounds like a Star Wars movie. Okay, whatever.
Silent true.
Yeah. So Pike was your favorite character.
I thought Pike was great. Yeah, throughout. and yet the dare you do better line he comes out with.
It is a great line.
Well, the full pride Bones when he gets on the shuttle, and he's
of course, yes.
That scene itself is pretty good.
I have to say that I detest the scene that's almost worthy of you're Han on your own, you're Han Solo, is the whole my wife got the whole planet, all I got left is my dying bones. We didn't need an explanation for that. It's so cheesy.
That is true.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was quote character scene. I'm actually going to go with the opening sequence.
Apart from the design of the Kelvin, it's a fantastic scene. I'll give you that. For sure.
It just sets that this isn't the Star Trek you know. But it
does make me question why Thor didn't do a better job of saving all those people, but
didn't have his hammer.
Done.
Yeah. He had his haircut, so he was the god of thunder. The sparkles.
Short hair, no hammer. That's the weaknesses, isn't it?
This is it. Yeah. Hadn't got his faith in himself. But yeah, we're running out of time, so
we are. So what's your number 3 in that case then, DK?
That would be Voyage Home.
Voyage Home, and reasons why that is, and then your favourite scene, character, and line.
It's just a fun movie, especially after the last couple. I think they needed it. It was like a pressure release. Favourite scene, the whole, do you guys like Italian? Loved that little back and forth.
She's good. What's her name again? The lady who plays Jillian. I forget the actress's name. Anyway.
I can't. Yeah. The favourite line, it's not so much a line, it's one word, but it's the way it's delivered where Bones goes, joy. When he's told that he's got to go on the mission with Scotty and Sulu.
So I can't believe nobody picked nuclear vessels as their favourite line from
yeah, that always gets brought up. And favourite character, Spock.
It is. It's Spock's movie, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think you're right. Actually, just quickly, I think that is a good point. I think in isolation, Voyage Home is perhaps not as good as it is as the third part of that trilogy. When by that point you need that levity, and you've had all those space battles and the kind of big stakes, and so as the third part of that trilogy, perhaps it works a little bit better. I would say that's fair. Awesome. My number 3 choice, again, we've just talked about it, but my number 3 is The Undiscovered Country, Star Trek 6. Because I love this movie. I don't know why. I like that we're sort of moving towards the next gen era, which is my particular favorite Trek era. So making peace with the Klingons and everything brings us into there. We've had a little Worf cameo. I just think it's well written, and it's kind of very good dialogue. It's some cool battle scenes. And I like that it shows the complications. It's not just a matter of the Klingons are weak because their moon's been destroyed, so now they'll join us. There's still actual factions in there that's like not going to have this, and there's factions on our side as well. So there's a bit of a shade of grey there. My favorite character in that movie is probably Gorkon, perhaps controversially, just because I love that he's kind of the one Klingon that's really, really trying hard for peace. And even when he gets killed, his last lines are just "Don't let it end this way, Kirk," which is very profound.
Very honorable character. I like that.
Yeah, definitely. And it's just a great actor who I have met, David Warner. Good chap. Favorite scene is the scene at the end when they've finally found a way to see through the ship that can fire when cloaked, and the Enterprise and Excelsior just both fire from either side of it and just completely obliterate it, because it's one of those satisfying punch the air type moments of, yeah, take that, Chang. And favorite, let's see, line of dialogue. My favorite line of dialogue is just any time that Chang's quoting Shakespeare, but especially I think, cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war. Or to a lesser extent, be honest, Captain, you prefer it this way, one warrior to another. Fair enough. So your number 3 then, Adrienne, and some reasons why, and you know the drill.
Okay, my number 3 is Star Trek 2009. My favorite character is...
You're killing me,
Bones.
You guys.
Because I know I'm so not going to say that she left me only my bones is my favorite line, because I don't get trouble.
Fair enough.
I love the Pine, like was said earlier, the Leonard Nimoy and Chris Pine in the cave. I just think it was a magical Star Trek moment forever. I could watch that scene over and over. I just loved it.
Awesome. Also credit to Pine. I think he does, as much as we were giving Carl Urban credit, and he is the best, I think the way that Pine channels a Kirk-esque Shatner quality when he's like just chewing on the apple during the Kobayashi Maru scenario, like, we're not worried, just save them, people are born. He's just so casually not giving a crap, and I love it. So did you have any other last thoughts on that one before I move on?
I like, my favorite line was before he says, all I got left of my bones. I love how he rattled off everything that can happen to you. Your eyeballs will be bleeding, and all that stuff. I thought that was great.
Space is
That's
disease
it.
and death wrapped in darkness and silence.
Uh-huh.
Who'd have thought McCoy was so goth?
I know. Awesome.
Right, we're into the big ones now. Then number 2, Stephen, and be very, very careful here. What's your number 2 on your list?
Stephen. Oh dear.
Oh, you're not going to like me again here. I'll build up suspense here. First Contact.
This is just evil.
First Contact.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah. Certainly the one I think me and you bonded over, possibly.
Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I really enjoy it. Plenty of parts in there. Obviously, the Borg, age-old enemy, sort of being dealt with. Picard having to sort of come to terms with what's happened to him in the past.
Just great.
Space battle at the start. That was great.
I love that battle, and DK dissed that battle. I'm not having that. I love that
I
battle.
didn't diss it. I just said it wasn't what I was hoping for.
Oh, what? I'd only introduced like 6 new types of starship. That wasn't enough for you?
I'm not talking to the Eagle Moss collector here.
Hey, we can't bash collecting people. You do not want to look at my desk right now.
Captain Shill over here. Oh no, never mind. That's cool. So, yeah, as I said, a lot of great acting and scenes and dialogue to choose from. But what would you go with then, Stephen? Just for those 3 things.
Well, Picard, I think the favorite character in the movie. I was really tempted with Zephyr Cochrane.
He's good. Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
James Cromwell's good in the role. Yeah, for
I
sure.
think there's certainly. I mean, the quote "this far, no further." That bit there. Yeah,
can't not
great.
pick that, can you really?
Favorite scene? I mean, the space battle at the start. But if you're actually going with a bit with it, really involves people. The point where Data fires the torpedoes at the Phoenix.
Resistance is futile.
Is it going to hit? And like that tense moment where you're like, blatantly not going to hit, but it could hit.
But why did he waste those torpedoes? Who knew he had such a flair for the theatrical?
Well, blatantly Picard in the very next movie.
Well, yes, good point. Good point indeed. So,
Yeah.
any other thoughts before I move on to DK's number 2?
Great movie. Really,
I know what your number 1 is because I've been able to work it out, but I will ask why you put that
Indeed.
above First Contact when you get there. So,
I've got my own personal reasons for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a great movie, and I think it really brought Star Trek to the masses. And that's why it's so high for me. Apart from the fact I love it anyway. I
think First Contact is the ultimate one for Trek nerds, as opposed to the sort of. I don't know if it brought Trek to the masses, but it really appealed. It was the perfect one for the geeks that really wanted to see something cinematic from the next gen and the next generations. I'll say it was very much just an episode of the show. First Contact was a movie, so
that's it. Like we mentioned right at the start, we put that on when we were in school, and we had like an hour for it was like Christmas or something. We'd put it on, and people wanted to stay to watch the rest of the movie.
Very much, yeah.
Everyone in that class virtually wanted to stay to carry on watching the movie, and
everyone in that class had more sense than DK. Simple as that.
Yeah, indeed. But
a lot more often than you would think.
I'll let him give his inferior opinions now. It's very.
He knows I'm only kidding, bless him, or am I? So what's your number 2 then, DK, for 9 points?
It's Undiscovered Country.
Okay, awesome. Well, we're all kind of vaguely picking the same ones, I think, for our tops. So, okay, Undiscovered Country was your number 2. What's the reasons why? And what's your favorite character line and scene?
It's just epic in scale. It tells so much in such a short space of time. It's another masterclass by Nick Meyer, in my opinion. Favorite scene? It's a very overlooked scene, but I do like it from working stuff out. It's the one in the ship's galley where they're trying to figure out why he couldn't just vaporize them.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. That's when they're kind of exploring and they do all this whole sort of Starfleet are calling us. There were wooden shoes named Sabo that they used to throw in, hence the word sabotage. All that kind of detective-y stuff. Yeah, that's cool. Awesome. So dialogue and character then from Undiscovered Country.
It's got to be Bones again. And favourite line is when Chang's going, "I am as constant as a northern star," and Bones pipes, "I would give real money if he'd just shut up."
For him to just shut up, yes. Oh, and is it Undiscovered Country as well, where McCoy has the greatest line at the very end when he just goes, "Once again, we've saved civilization as we know it. And the good news is they're not going to prosecute."
That's the one.
I
mean,
awesome.
it was tied is the final scene. It brings me to tears every time. The second star to the right.
Oh, it's very good. Very good. Yeah, very good stuff. Awesome. Hello, Andriy Rapula in Ukraine. Hopefully we're doing you proud, yes.
Wow.
Okay.
Hello, Andrew.
Bless. Hopefully you're a Star Trek fan,
Safe.
otherwise it's probably going to be very boring for you. But bless you. We are here doing our best for that, so do try and click on that link and donate whatever you can, and check out the hashtag Trek for Ukraine if you can as well.
Live long and prosper, Andrew.
Doing our best. Indeed. Live long and prosper, you as well, friend. Absolutely. United in Trek, as I said. Okay. I wish I didn't have to move on, but unfortunately I do. So my number 2 film then, I'm not sure if this will be controversial or not, but my number 2 is Wrath of Khan. It was very close between my number 1 and 2, and Wrath of Khan was number 1 for a long time, and it was... I can't really fault it. It's just that I like my number 1 a bit better for personal reasons. But Wrath of Khan, I love everything from, the epic Khan that everyone quotes to the, hours could seem like days thing, to everything between Kirk and Khan on the view screen, just spitting venom at each other. I think it's all great. And favorite scene is just the entire fight in the Mutara Nebula. Particularly the idea that Khan doesn't think 3-dimensionally, so they can in fact just go up and down. Basic yet effective. Favorite line of dialogue. That's tough trying to think of a one. Well, of course, it's got to be the obvious. I'm just going to go for it. In fact, you know what? I'm not. I'm going to go for the speech at Spock's funeral. Of all the souls I've encountered in my travels, his was the most human.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Favorite character in Wrath of Khan, it's got to be Spock, hasn't it? Really? I mean, sacrificing himself for the greater good at the end, needs of the many and all that. So that would be my number 2. So what about your number 2, Adrienne?
My number 2 is First Contact. Watch this movie just hundreds of times. Favorite character is the Borg Queen when she comes out of the structure. I just thought that was so great. And her spine is like this. And, that was really great. And I think my favorite line is when I think it was Deck 13. And they said, the Borg are on Deck 13. And it was like, they won't stay on Deck 13, whichever deck that was. So, yeah.
Cool. Awesome. Fair enough. So what was this is the big one then. What's your number 1, Stephen? As if I didn't already know this.
What do you think it is then?
I believe it's the Undiscovered Country.
You are right.
Indeed.
Spot on. Always had a special place for me. First movie I can really recall watching was the Undiscovered Country. It was like a Christmas Eve, something like that. Family get together, and I remember everyone sort of came to the living room and watched Undiscovered Country for the first time. And I think it might have been fresh out as well. You were just on video or something. And probably I say that maybe the first one I'd seen at that point. I might have seen some others beforehand, but definitely the one that was always stuck into my mind is the one that really hit home for me.
Sweet reasons. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kang, great. You've already mentioned Gorgon, great as well. All the Shakespeare quotations, all that. Quote. Well, DK has already nicked the one I was tempted with, which was, I'd give real money if he'd just shut up.
Shut up. Absolutely, yeah.
We had a friend who used to quote that, actually, if you remember.
Did we?
Yes.
If you say so.
Yeah, we did. I'm quite tempted with Sulu, Fly Her Apart then. And
yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fly Apart.
That was great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fly Apart.
And one did just jump into my head. What was it? Who was it? it was probably Kang.
I was about to say,
okay.
I bet it's this guy.
Yeah, so many good. But for some reason, I don't think it was Kang. I'll maybe throw that back in towards the end if I recall what it was.
Fair enough.
But yeah,
Awesome.
scene. You've mentioned a couple of great ones. I just like it all the way through, really.
Great
It's all one
story.
big scene to me. Yeah.
Yeah.
All the putting aside old hatred and things like that.
Yes.
It's actually that's fun. It's probably not the thing I was going to think of, but the point at which it's not the younger generation who have to learn to live with
Our generation will
what's
have the hardest time living in it.
That's it, yeah, because of
Yeah.
all that here and stuff like that. That's quite good. Not what I was thinking of, but that's another great line. But yeah, I can't pick a particular scene.
If you think of anything else, just give us a shout or pop it into the chat. That's fair enough.
Yeah.
So DK, what's your number one? Then your big climactic 10-pointer.
It's got to be Wrath of Khan.
Wrath of Khan. Okie dokie. And reasons why and your favorite line, character, scene quickly.
It's just beautiful from beginning to end. It's too short in my opinion. Every time I watch it, it seems to get shorter because I enjoy it so much, even after all this time.
That's
Favorite scene? I can't have Spock's death because it just makes me weep every time. So I'm going to go with what Steve said earlier with the whole "I don't like to lose."
Never believed in the no-win scenario.
Exactly. Favorite character got to be Spock. And as for what was the other thing?
Scene and character and line of dialogue.
Line. I would be remiss if I didn't say Spock's narration over the end credits. The original series narration.
Oh yeah.
Brings a lump to my throat every time I watch it.
Same here, because his voice is so low and he's being so soft and calm.
He sends shivers down my spine. Yeah.
It's same here.
The camera kind of going in on his torpedo coffin as well in that scene as if to promise a little bit more. It's very good.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just
awesome.
Art.
Definitely. Very good. My number one is, of course, Star Trek First Contact. For all the reasons that I've already went over. It's a very personal film. It helped me to bond with a lot of good friends who were into Trek, including Stephen. It was the first one that I wore out on video cassette.
Not anymore.
Yeah, I rented the video from my local corner shop for that one so many times that they literally gave the video to me. He was like, "You've rented this once a week for the last 10 weeks. Just take it." Which was really sweet.
I love that.
Yeah. And I just love, like I said, the acting in it, the dialogue. My favorite scene is the Picard and Lily scene in the Ready Room. My favorite line is also that entire scene, the Moby Dick analogy, the line drawn this far, no further.
Yeah.
You broke your little ships, etc. And my favorite character in that movie is probably Picard. I do not mind the Borg Queen in that movie quite so much as some people. I also like her dialogue when she's, at least they're kind of keeping it enigmatic, and it's like, I am the Borg. That's a contradiction. I am the beginning and the end, and the one who's many. And yeah, I don't mind it as much as some people. I think she's better in there than she is in Voyager, perhaps. But so my number one would definitely be First Contact for my 10 points. And Adrienne, finally, what is your number one then for 10 whole points?
Okay, my number one is Wrath of Khan because this guy's so great. Everyone, I just think about Ricardo Montalban is so wonderful, and my favorite line is "I spit my last breath at thee." So, I mean, I can't really watch the Spock death scene, very easily, or I would talk about it more. But let's just stay with the Shakespeare stuff.
It's a lot, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. We'll just stay in this Shakespeare world.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And so anything else about the particular kind of favorite characters or lines of dialogue that you like?
I think I spit my last breath at thee. Like he's like all twisted and all messed up, and Khan. I mean, we don't have the movie without the bad guy, so I just have to say he's my favorite character. The whole movie revolves around him. So
that's fair enough. Yeah. Slight spoiler for my podcast, but I was talking. One of the things on my hit or miss in an upcoming episode is holographic communications. Because we obviously the controversy around should it be in Discovery and everything. And I said that I think Wrath of Khan is the perfect argument for why you don't need holographic communications to have actors in the same scene act off each other, because You would not think that Shatner and Montalban are never in the same room in that movie.
No.
It's all acted over a screen, and yet it's so impactful and so good. That it just goes to show you don't need any fancy sci-fi gimmicks or whatever. You just need 2 good actors and a great script and a very good director. So awesome.
Agreed. Yeah.
Well, I am trying to collate numbers here to give us our final top 10. Otherwise, people are going to be disappointed that we didn't get a final one. So I did not think this through, because now it's just going to mean that there's going to be probably dead silence unless one of you guys wants to talk about why the 3 that didn't make your list didn't make it. Starting with you, Steve.
Oh well, actually, I was just going to throw in about Rafik Khan. Part of the reason it didn't, I suppose, go a bit higher on my list was without seeing Space Seed, is it?
Okay, yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
You don't get the history, I suppose, of why there is that grudge there, and how you marooned him on SETI Alpha 5, and it is SETI Alpha 5, and and all that sort of thing. I mean, as for the other movies, this weren't particularly interesting for me greatly, and I had to pick some.
Well, I have a little something I could throw in. Is that something I noticed on this rewatch, because I watched as much of the movies as I can. Like, this was my finals in college. Thank you. And I mean, I had the perfect excuse. Laundry one. I'm sorry, this test coming up. I have to do that. So, in Into Darkness, I just wanted to throw out there that I've caught that McCoy and Dr. Marcus have to mess with a torpedo. One of Khan's torpedoes, just like happened in Undiscovered Country. They had to mess with a torpedo.
Oh, yeah.
So that's kind of exciting to me. That was my discovery.
That's a good point. Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. Cool. Anybody else have anything that they picked up on this rewatch that they didn't necessarily notice before? That's a no. Then.
But I made a really bad choice putting First Contact down my list.
I'm so close to having the final list, guys. I'm literally one score short here. So let's see.
I mean, I was quite tempted at one point when I first wrote my list to put a curveball in and say Galaxy Quest was one of my top 10.
I was so close to picking Galaxy Quest.
Somebody was going to say something like that.
We have a tie at number 10, by the way.
It's a Star Trek 5.
So it is, actually. So do you want to try and do a tiebreaker, or should we just say that number 10 is a joint number 10 between 2 things?
I'll change my motion picture. There you go. It's gone.
Okay, fair enough. In which case, the number 10 is settled and it's not Final Frontier. Great. Okie dokie. Right then. So the final top 10 then in reverse order, just so as we can finish this off and everybody can be less annoyed with us. The number 10 movie, according to our combined list, with a total of 3 points, would be Star Trek Into Darkness. That's our number 10. Our number 9 with 10 points is Star Trek Beyond. Our number 8, let's see, with 14 points is The Motion Picture. Our number 7 with 16 points is Star Trek Generations. Our number 6 with 17 points is Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock. Our number 5 with 23 points is Star Trek 2009. Our number 4 is Star Trek 4, The Voyage Home, with 24 points. Our number 3 is Star Trek First Contact with 32 points. Our number 2 is Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, with 34 points. And the number 1 best Star Trek movie, democratically decided by all of us, with 36 points, is Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan. Surprising nobody, I'm sure. So, awesome. I see we've got our...
Jumping in here, I can't believe that is the most peculiar list from about 10 to 6. I think I was expecting to see from the list you put together. I was not expecting some of the movies to be kind of that high up the list at all. Like,
oh, we're a varied bunch, all 4 of us here for sure.
So, guys, I was actually going to mention Galaxy Quest to see if you'd actually discussed it. So, Steve, I think you said it a second ago, or was it DK who said it about Galaxy
Steven,
Quest?
It was Steve.
Yeah. I remember reading years ago. It was in people's like top 5 Star Trek movies. Galaxy Quest was number 5.
Yeah.
That was a few years ago now. But yeah,
If we included it, it probably would be my number 5 actually.
Yeah, a bit like the same sort of inspiration from like the Orville, really. In how
it's slightly better than that. Let's be honest.
But yeah, I mean, obviously it moves away a bit. It's obviously based on Earth, but like the general premise of it all and how they go along, it's a good, again, another fun movie, but not quite Star Trek.
It's good though. It's very good. If anybody's a Trek fan that hasn't seen Galaxy Quest, you absolutely have to, because it's just so good. It's a great pastiche of all of that kind of genre and the actors in it, and so good. And
unfortunately,
Alan
that's
Rickman.
me. I've never actually seen Galaxy Quest at all.
Oh, no way!
You've never seen it?
I haven't either. Oh.
Thanks,
Oh,
Adrienne.
no way.
I'm
Well,
not the only one then.
You both have your homework then for
I
the week.
know, totally. Am I grounded?
Guys, I'm going to let you wrap it up there, and thank you so much for coming on for 2 hours and doing your list. I'm really delighted.
No
I
problem.
hope you enjoyed it as well. And currently, we're up to 1,898 raised so far. So
Hey.
we'll break
Yeah.
we'll break
That's
it
great.
out enough.
For everybody that's asking, sorry to interrupt. Everybody that's asking, yes, I will post the final list and scores on Twitter. If you are curious what our top 10 ended up as, I have it written down, so I shall be able to do that without any problem. That's fine.
Live long and prosper.
You have been listening to the Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast, hosted by Michael Wilson and DK. Created, produced, and edited by Michael Wilson. Additional material produced by DK. Music by Timeless Journey. More information can be found at soundcloud.com/Timeless Journey. The Hit or Miss Star Trek podcast is based on an idea by Michael Wilson and Will Templar. Follow the podcast on Twitter at HomeTrek, on Instagram at HoM Star Trek Podcast, or look for the Hit or Miss Star Trek Podcast under Facebook groups. Links to all our social media accounts and more are in this episode's description. This podcast is available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Just look for Silver Screen, Hit or Miss Star Trek. This has been a Mike's Podcast production, copyright 2022. Thank you for listening.